everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, or wherever the hell you are from. Welcome to yet another episode of the Witching Hour podcast. I'm your host, as always, John Royson. With me to get tonight, new friend, special guest, the lovely Miss Kamarra Cole.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking the time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So, you presently are in Vegas as we're talking, is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Okay.
It's not hot, so it's the best time of year.
One of my oldest, dearest friends is actually somewhere out there. Her and her husband live out there.
Ooh,
I keep begging to come back out there, but
yes.
I don't do too well around casinos, so it's probably for the best that I stay out of there. I get sucked into all the glitter and the gulch and the lights,
Yeah.
and it's just
It's hard. It's hard
it's
because they all look like they all have something like cool about them. So you start walking and then you realize you've been walking for like hours
right.
and it's all like if you've been here like like it's all decorated, like the ceilings are like blue skies and like chirping birds, and you're like, wow, I've had a really, holy shit, it's like 8 hours since I've been in here, and you have like no clue. You've just been like sucked in.
You can't find a clock anywhere in Vegas. They're constantly pumping oxygen. The sound of the birds, and I mean, they actually paid people, psychologists, to figure out what's the best way to keep people awake.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Vegas was created. So
It's yeah, it's wild. What a like crazy place. Like it's very cool, and there's like so much to do that has nothing to do with the strip. Like since I've been here, I think I've been to the strip maybe 2 or 3 times, like to see a show or something.
good girl,
Um,
good for you.
but like you just kind of steer clear and you find the other cool stuff going on. But it's true, once you're in, you're kind of just like stuck, and they make it so hard to get out as well. Like it's like an IKEA, like you go in and you're like, fuck's the exit, like how do I get out of here? They're like, oh, you're going to go down the corner, then you're going to go about 3 miles, make a left, there's like a fountain with Zeus, you're going to go around it 3 times, and you're like,
Right. And then you're going to end
uh,
up in a giant circle
and
right
then you
back where you
you don't
started
end
from.
up outside, you end up in another casino.
Exactly. Exactly. I'll tell you what, they say it's an adult playground out there, and it
Yeah.
is, it's an amazing place. It really is. But anyhow, enough about selling Vegas. So,
Yeah.
good friend of mine, Mr. PJ Starks, got a hold of me and said, hey, I am now one of the executive producers of an upcoming film. Can you help me out? I said, why not? Anything for PJ. I love the man. He's
Mm,
got some great work. The man's nonstop working. And he really suggested that I talked with this lovely lady sitting in front of me tonight about an upcoming film called The Boy from Below. Now, the story that is given online, it says it's about what a female horror nerd
yeah.
who has to survive the night with a high IQ, a high horror IQ, I believe is even what it specifies, to survive the night from a killer on Halloween night.
Yeah, what's really cool is that's kind of like the base for everything. But it's set in the 90s, so like mid 90s, and it kind of centers around this video store that one of the main characters, Quinn, played by Spooky Madison, who is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
who works there with her family, um, and her group of friends are trying to reconnect her with someone from her past, and like that's kind of where everything just kind of starts to go awry from there. And the script's really damn cool. There's some really great like kills in it,
Nice.
which is
Always,
always fun.
always a good thing.
Yeah, and it's got that really fun nostalgic feel of 90s horror,
Okay.
which some people are huge fans of.
Yes.
I was really drawn to that because I love the 90s, and I think there's just going to be some really, really like sweet callbacks to some things that people are familiar with.
Very nice. And this is also supposed to be, I believe it says it takes place Halloween night, which is
Hmm.
also, I feel, is a very big plus for a lot of people. I think that, along with it happening as a Halloween movie, and you're talking about the nostalgia of dating back to the 90s, some films, they really go overboard. I don't want to say overboard. They
Yeah.
do it right with just the right amount of, if it's a street scene, of seeing the house is decorated, and they
Yeah.
really put the time and the effort to really make the scenes come to life, and it really brings the viewer that much farther into the film.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the film that it hasn't officially started
Hmm.
production yet. So how early are we?
I believe March is when everything really kicks off. More towards the end of March. Everything's kind of in those kind of final production stages. The director Tory has really, really been it's like his baby, and he wants everything to be just just right, and not even for himself so much. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously as a director, like he wants it to be great because he loves it, but he really wants to make it something that the audience really enjoys, and he feels like he needs to do right by all of these like horror fans. So as an actor coming in, that's very cool to like hear his excitement for the project, but also like how invested he is in all the different levels of it, um, from casting to making the feel of this night be exactly like what he wants it to be in that vision. So I know everyone on board is very like excited to help him bring that to life.
Right, great. Now, for those listening, it's being directed by Tory Jones.
Mhm.
Do you, obviously where, but where is the film being filmed at? What
So,
locations?
specifically, I'm not sure of the specifics, but it's going to be in and around the Kentucky area,
Okay, okay. And you
which is
are,
exciting because I've never been to Kentucky. So I'm like, let's do
we'll
this.
see if you come back with an accent, because we're going to have to talk once the movie's finished, obviously. So whereabouts are you from? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm originally from San Diego, California,
Okay,
born and raised. So the regular California scene, like grew up skateboarding, surfing,
okay,
watching all the horror movies, reading all the scary books, nerding it up in high school. So that's where I started. And then I went to school in upstate New York, about
mhm,
as far away from California as you can get. I had never been to New York, and I'd never seen the school until the first day I got there. I just kind of like took a chance and was like, let's do this. I'm gonna like
I love that. I love
check
that.
out New York,
Sure.
and loved it, and I had such a good
It
time.
is beautiful up there. Absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous.
it was so fun, and everyone loved like making fun of me because there was all this new stuff. Like I remember looking
Snow.
outside. I know, I was like, what is that? But I saw this thing running across the yard, and I was like, there's a super fat squirrel outside. And they're like, Kamarra, that's a woodchuck. And I'm like, I don't know what a woodchuck is. What's a woodchuck?
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But I'd
I
never
love that.
seen a woodchuck before. Like the only mention I've heard of him is in rhymes. And I'm like, it's a
Sure.
real thing. This is
Right.
great. Look how
Right.
cute he is.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was very, very young and lived just outside of, and actually part of, in Woodstock, New York.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
man, seeing the seasons change up there in the fall and the winter is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's so
Absolutely.
pretty. Like you just watch the colors change in the valley, and it's like fire. It just kind of catches,
Right.
and then it's weird how you acclimate to the weather. Like obviously like California, it's like 70 year round. Like
Hmm.
maybe it jumps a little in the summer, but not by much. And it would get like into the negatives in upstate New York. And after my second year, it would go from negative something to 20, and we'd all be like, oh, it's warm outside, and put my flip-flops on, and you'd just be walking around like normal. So
Right. Right.
I had a blast.
So being an actress, are you a actual horror fan?
Mm, I am,
Okay.
and I've actually been a horror fan since before I could read. And then once I got into books, I started reading like um like I started with Goosebumps, and from the Goosebumps, I went to R.L. Stein's Fear Street, and then Christopher Pike, and it's like that gateway drug into John Saul and Dean Koontz and
Sure.
Stephen King, and just all of that. And my sister was actually a huge horror fan, so she would have her friends over on like Friday nights, and they would go rent movies, and I would always have to go to sleep. So I'd always be up like on the banister, like looking through, like, oh, what are they watching? Like, because I was never allowed. And I kind of had this voyeuristic like introduction to horror, and like just loved it. And then I just anything that I could get my hands on horror related, I've just always loved.
So at that time when you're back there watching, spying on your sister,
Mm,
what what movie, or if you can, if at the time you might
yeah,
not even have known, what was the one that was like, oh my God, and you never forgot?
man, what was it? I feel like I remember them watching The Fly at
Hmm.
some point. And it was probably at some point during the time when Jeff Goldblum was like kind of like transforming. And I remember just being like, "Ugh, oh,
Like a bad car crash, but you can't
yeah,
stop watching.
yeah, yeah."
Sure.
And like my mom's like, "You're gonna get nightmares." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then like at 6 a.m. and I've been up blinking all night.
Right.
And she's
Waking
like,
up
time
in
to go to school.
mom's bed. Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Actually,
So,
there were a few times where they like I had watched something I wasn't supposed to, and I had snuck into my parents' room, and I would sleep on the floor right by their bed. And
yep.
so when like my mom would get up in the morning, she would like step on me, and she's like, ah, and I'm like, sorry, I'll go back to my room now.
So what brought you into acting? What was it, or
um
was there a certain moment, or just something that kind of
mm,
just happened?
um I think initially I grew up with ADD, and like my parents didn't want to give me medicine. I remember a doctor telling us early on, they're like, just give her stuff to keep her busy, like
Hmm.
get her busy, keep her busy. And I remember my parents signing me up for theater, and I loved that. And it kind of checked all those boxes of things that like were were really helpful for me. Like it kept me busy, it kept my mind very focused on
Sure.
something, like reading and learning lines, and learning the ins and outs of a scene and everything from the set and what it took to put the lights together and the grid and all of that. And so from then on, I got really, really interested in being on stage. And I did that from elementary school and went to a performing arts academy all the way through high school,
Oh.
and then went to college for theater. And so like that's kind of where it was. I think they always knew I liked kind of just being silly, and like every kid does, like, watch
Hmm.
me, I want to put on a show.
Right.
And so it just happened to check another box as far as like helping me focus, and giving my like all that energy and outlet to go into.
Sure. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm just listening to you and I'm just picturing all of it. I'm so jealous of you having done that, and lived that dream. I was in a small indie film
Mm,
3 years ago, my first in front of, never acted, never did anything my entire
awesome,
life.
congrats.
Thank you. And fell in love with it. Fell in love with it. Came
But that's the
home,
cool
wanted
part. You can
more.
start at any time.
Yeah, yeah. Just so much occupying, the day to day of life.
Yeah.
But I am just enthralled
But you did it,
listening
and
to
that's
you.
further
I
than a
did.
lot of people get. So
I,
good for you.
well, I appreciate that. So Uh, the boy, sorry, the boy from below. Um,
Yes.
uh, Production starts hopefully mid end of March. That you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, God, it's. I wish there was more that you could tell me about. I wish the production had started because
Oh, I know.
I'm really intrigued by this and anything. And I'm not trying to, make PJ's head swell anymore. But I love everything that he touches. I truly do.
Yeah.
Everything that he's written, directed, anything like that. I know is always golden. Um,
Yeah, and there's a lot of heart in this. And as I said, because there's so much pre-production going on, it's something that I can say for myself, and I'm sure if you ask Spooky or any of the other folks involved, there's an excitement that they have too because of the detail that's going into pre-production and I'm excited to get on set and really see all of that like come to life. Like as a video kid, as someone who spent a lot of time like renting and just searching the shelves for that best like cover and what am I gonna like what
right.
30 things am I gonna rent and spend the weekend diving into. Like it's a very cool um blast back into a very like special part of a lot of people's lives, like a lot of their Friday nights. So
Sure. No, that sounds great. I can definitely appreciate that. So have you? How can I say it? You've gotten the part, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
So have you flown out? Have you physically met with anybody from the cast
No,
or
not yet. I mean, I've done one or two things now with Spooky, which is great. She's such a fun scene partner to be with. As I go cross country, I'm going to try and pop down there and chat. Tori and I chat quite a bit, like about the character and everything. Becca is who I play, and she is a really fun part of the group. As we all know, we've got a lot of our group of friends that all kind of fall into a category, and she's kind of this like not nurturing so much because I don't think that's quite the word, but there's this need to make things right. Like she wants to, if there's something that can be fixed, like she wants to fix it, and that's kind of where she is trying to help her friend mend this relationship that is kind of fallen out. And she's just very strong-willed and like very ride or die, and there's some really cool scenes with her, and I always love any character that's able to um like hold their own, and she definitely does that on screen and then with a lot of physicality. So like I said, without saying too much more, it's I think a lot of people will be very excited to see um all the trouble that these characters get into.
Oh, it definitely sounds interesting and definitely has me intrigued just from
Mm,
from what I have heard about it. And congratulations, obviously, on getting the role.
thank you.
So as I mean, and you're no stranger, obviously, to acting in horror movies. Let me see, we've got what Late Checkout, Demonic
Mhm.
Toys, to name a
Yeah.
few, Wolf Hollow.
Yeah.
Now you're presently working on something, correct? Or you just finished something up out there?
We're going into production on an anthology series. So
Okay.
we've already shot three of them. So we've just got to finish up, but we can't do that until after I get cross country. So if you could see my living room, it's just like piles and piles of boxes, and I have a cat in a box next to me that is
And
asleep.
hence the black or the fuzzed out background
I
screen.
know, I'm like, if you'd like to see it, you're more than welcome. Lots of boxes and junk.
We'll wait for the recap for MTV Cribs one day when they come for you. That would
I
be great.
know.
Oh
Oh.
my God, sorry about that. So there's a question I want to ask. Certain There's different levels of horror films out there.
Hmm.
Um, you've got, you know, your tongue in cheek, kind of quirky. You've got
Hmm.
your nostalgic. You've got your slashers, which sometimes are very serious. You've got your
Hmm.
thrillers. You've got your extreme hardcore films, your
Yeah.
underground films, and so forth. As an actor, let's just keep it in the horror realm. Even
Yeah. Yeah.
is there anything that you do not ever want to have to, or will you draw the line at as far as an actor? Someone approaches you with a script, here's a decent pay scale, whatever, however that works for you. Um, but let's just say you read it and you're like, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to do this.
Huh. I don't know if there's anything that I would necessarily say no to. I think more so it has to make sense.
Okay.
Um, like like a lot of people have issues like with doing nude scenes, which I
Yeah.
understand.
Hmm.
And I've never done one. And I wouldn't necessarily be opposed, but it would have to make like sense for me to do
Not
it.
just for gratuitous,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Now, like, look, I have a very nice set of boobs, very nice set, but I just don't want them, I
Just
don't
made
want them just
the whole show just got made right there. There they
red.
are.
There they are. They're like, we nice. We got a good set here. But well, I'm not just gonna like be grabbing coffee and be like, yeah, Joe,
Just because, right?
you want another cup?
Right.
um so and I mean, but I also love a silly horror that does have like just like
A set that
penis and
bounces across
everything.
the screen.
Yeah,
Sure.
just
Right.
like get it, girl, do it. But I think more so I hate um tropes. Like I hate as someone who's a person of color, like I hate when you have a character that's written and you can tell it was written by someone who has just, I don't know how to quite describe it, like it's their idea of what this person sounds like if you
Sure.
get like a good explanation for that is like I've gone into a lot of auditions, more so than I would like to admit to, though, who have asked me like, can you be a little bit more urban?
Sure.
Can you I even had someone blatantly say, can you black this up a bit? Which was exciting. I was like, oh, I didn't know if I think I heard you right.
So you've got people that'll write the stereotypes,
Yeah,
but they'll never
and
say those kind of things themselves
yeah, like
because
and
they're
it's
Karens.
and there's no reason for them to really to
Right.
be this type of character like over the top. And I'm sure there's other people who face that same challenge. They're like, well, why can't I just be a regular, if I'm a nerd, that's cool. Let me just be a fucking cool nerd that does shit. Like I don't need to be
Sure.
like over the top. So I think that's where I get a little irritated. And it still happens now where I will like I'll get a line and I'll be like, can we change that? Do you mind
Right.
if we change that? Because it sounds, it doesn't hit the ear or roll off the tongue quite right. So I think that's more so what I look for is like, don't
Hmm.
write me as a color, just write me as a cool character.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's it. Just write a cool character, and whether it's Brown Town here or something else, just write for a cool character, and then whoever fits into that character, um, then that's great. But no, I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't try. I just want a very cool story attached to it and want to have fun. Like life is short.
Right.
I just want to have like fun and work with cool people who also want to put some fun things out into the world.
Okay, I can respect that. I'm sorry you've had to go through some of those awkward situations. The reason
You
I
know?
ask is there is a re-release of a trilogy
Mm,
of extreme horror films that are out. Um, I'm not going to mention the titles to them.
yeah.
I respect the writer director of all of them and the other works that he's done.
Hmm.
Um, they are very hard to watch.
Mm,
Very hard to watch.
okay. Okay.
Extreme to the point of where you almost question is this real?
Yeah, I get what you're
Okay.
saying. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and because they were been re-released from a couple of years ago, they're out in front of new viewers who may or may not have heard of them in the past and are
Hmm.
watching them for the first time. And I'm reading some of their comments online, like, uh, you know, if I was as a woman or a female actress, I could never allow that to happen to myself in a film.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me wonder, well, it's acting. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it's certain morals that other people have, and they're saying, well, it's um I don't know, it's to each their own
Yeah.
because some
No,
people
yeah, I get
thrive
what you're
off of it,
saying.
which is kind
Yeah.
of why I ask you, and I wouldn't have
Yeah.
cared either way, you
Well, I
know.
mean, I think it really just depends on what, again, like what is it you want as an actor? Like for me, I like and it doesn't always happen, but I like characters that are different and
Mhm.
interesting, and like it's fun to play the bad guy. Like the bad guy's always really interesting and fun, or should be, like it should be
Right,
fun.
agreed.
Um and I've seen some of those movies. Like I can't even remember um what was it that I just watched, and this one's not even that bad, but I think it was the, is it Last House on the Left, with
Sure.
the remake where they're out at the cabin,
Hmm.
and yeah, and like they have that very like graphic rape scene in it, and
Right.
I'm just like, and I remember my friend being like, ugh, I can't watch this, like this is uncomfortable, and she's like, oh, that must be so hard for that
Okay.
actor, and I was
So
like,
you know what? We'll even go with that one if you want, because
yeah.
That was a Hollywood film, Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
production
Yeah.
that was in the
A
theaters.
remake,
Not
yeah.
not underground. Could you have portrayed that same actress during that scene?
Yes, and because it was the jumping off point for so much of the other action in the story. Like that was the point at which her parents, who were
Everything
very
pivoted.
mild married, mild mannered, just
Hmm.
regular people, you got to see that question, like, what would you do for someone who was wronged? And they were like, oh, anything.
Right.
We have PT on Monday, but today is Sunday and we are going to kill him.
Right. Right.
And so there was a reason for that, and it really brought the whole story to life, because I was like, wow, these parent like her parents were amazing. Like so they were so dedicated in their revenge. And so yeah, so I would have done that. And story wise, it totally made sense for what was going on,
Right.
and got us to that full circle like ending moment where he's like got the guy at the end. So yeah, so I think definitely, now there's some stuff that is like a little like where you just kind of feel ugh
The stomach
about it.
turns. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
and I know the kind of stuff that you're talking about, and so like I don't know, uh it's never come up, so I don't know how I would answer that right now. I think I'm more interested in other types of horror, because there's, that's the great thing about the genre, is like for the most part, like romance is pretty straightforward and I love it and it's fun,
Sure.
and comedy's pretty straightforward. You can get that dramatic comedy and whatnot, but like horror is so fun because it still gives us all these different facets
Right.
of what it can be. Like it can just go in so many different directions. Like we've got these beautiful period pieces, like I was just watching Crimson Peak the other day, which is always so much fun, and
Sure.
I love Guillermo. Like that's a dream. Like I would love to like work with him and hug him and just call him Papa Guillermo. Like that's what happens in my head. I just give him a hug. I'm like, how are you, Papa Guillermo?
Sure.
and
Sure.
and we have a good time. But yeah, there's just so many cool things. There's romantic horror, and just
And
it's
that's
cool.
the beautiful thing about horror is that you can
Mm-hmm.
have a romantic horror, you can have a comedy horror, you can
Mm-hmm.
have this horror, you can have that horror, but you can't have a romantic movie with a slasher in it. You can't have a
Yes.
comedy
Yes.
movie
Yes.
with it. It's completely reversed. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It becomes a stupid movie. to the
And you get
viewer,
so many
unfortunately.
different people too, like with horror, like you can have leads who um who are in their 60s and 70s who are kicking ass and doing amazing things, where like, you know, most romantic comedies and or romances, like they've got a kind of formulaic like age range, but horror, you still get these amazing characters of all ages. And I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
like from young ages all the way into like their amazing wiser years, and and lots of different types of people.
Right.
Like I think even as a young kid, like I noticed, like that's why I've always been a fan of horror, and like I'm a big sci-fi fan. And it's because it's these are the arenas where anything is possible, so anyone can be seen.
Mhm.
And I always thought that was very cool.
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate that. I do. Anybody that does listen to the show, if you do figure out the films that I'm talking about, please do not be hating on me. Okay. Again,
No hate, no hate.
right, to reiterate, these are from comments I'm reading online.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And I'm bringing it to the surface with a professional that I'm talking to
yeah.
see their input on that and their, their point of view about it. So I appreciate that. I have seen one of the three films that I am referring to,
Hmm.
and it was very, very hard to finish. It was hard to stomach.
Hmm.
But yet at the same time, we could go along to another line of film. I know we're winding down. We've only got a couple minutes left here. Um, a Serbian film, extremely high production, whether you've seen it or not. Extremely graphic,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
extremely X-rated, if not higher
Hmm.
than. It was another one of those films. Everybody, it was a completely love hate, and I think it was beautifully shot, and I actually
Mm.
enjoyed the film. But it's just one of those
But it's
things.
not for everybody.
It's to each their own,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's why I think it's great that horror has such a wide spectrum of
Hmm.
genres in it
Yeah,
because
it's a buffet.
there's something
Everybody
for
picks up what they
everyone.
want. Yeah,
Exactly,
grab what you want.
exactly. Uh, Kamarra Cole, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to wish you all the best on all of your
Oh,
future
thanks, hon.
ventures and definitely a safe trip. Um,
Thank you.
this will, I appreciate you discussing, you know, um, your opinion on certain roles
This is the
and,
only box you can see is a cat, and she's not helping, but she has taken up space in a
as
box.
as they all do. I trust me, I've got I think 4 or 6 of them running around my house. I know. I know. Boys and girls, The Boy from Below, be looking out for that.
Yes,
Production to start mid-March, right after the snow clears. Enjoy yourself down in Kentucky. Give PJ a big old hug and a smooch for me.
done.
And anytime you want to come back and talk, you got something
Mm,
else going on, or update us, even on on your road
yeah,
trip. I don't care.
yeah, I'd love to.
Please feel free.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much. Anything you want to throw out there, plug before we say goodbye?
No, just keep watching horror and keep being good to each other. Horror is a great community, so treat each other well.
There you go. Boys and girls, this is John with the Witching Hour. Kamarra Cole, be looking for her on every level of horror that's out there right now. And we will see you guys soon. And as always, remember to keep it evil.
Bye.